We're given an equation of a curve. We need to find the coordinates of 3 points where the derivative of this curve is equal to 0. Now, as soon as we see that the derivative is equal to 0, we know that we need to find the derivative here. And because this is very messy, we need to use implicit differentiation here. So let's start. Implicit differentiation is mechanical and it is very easy to understand as long as you go step by step. So in here we have first times derivative of the second plus second times derivative of the first plus the derivative of x cubed is 3x squared minus the derivative of y cubed is 3y squared dy dx. Don't forget the dy dx's. Essentially we're putting everything, we're multiplying everything by d over dx. And when you stumble across an x, it's essentially dx over dx, and that is why we don't write it. But with dy dx we have to write it. And that is, you could say, arguably convenient, because we need to find the coordinates of the 3 points where dy dx is equal to 0. So all we're going to have to do in the end is isolate this dy dx. Moving on, 9 dy dx is equal to 0, right? The derivative of 0 is 0. What we can do next is separate dy dx from this whole messy thing. And the way I like to do it is simply put all the dy dx's on one side and everything else on the other side. And from that it follows that x cubed 2y dy dx minus 3y squared dy dx plus 9 dy dx is equal to, now I have to be very careful, negative y squared 3x squared minus 3x squared. Now we're going to factorize dy dx, or factor, not factorize. Dy dx is then going to be equal to minus y squared 3x squared minus 3x squared, right? Divided by, I skipped a step here, but hang on, I'll explain in just a moment. Divided by x cubed 2y minus 3y squared plus 9. What I have done here is, because I'm short of space, essentially I factored dy dx from this thing, and that would have given me dy dx times, in brackets, x cubed 2y minus 3y squared plus 9, and then I have divided both sides by that to give me this. So if you need to visualize what the step that I've skipped here was, just multiply both sides of this equation by this denominator here. Next, because we need to set this equal to 0, the next step is simply forget that this even exists. Because when you set this equal to 0, 0 equals all of this, again you can multiply both sides by this whole denominator here, and it just disappears, because all of this times 0 is just 0. So 0 is equal to minus y squared 3x squared minus 3x squared. Next, you can get rid of the minus, but it's really not necessary. This is very nice, and you can immediately tell that we are dealing with factoring here. And so 0 is equal to 3x squared. If I just rewrite this as positives, I said it's not necessary, but it's nicer. 3x squared times 1 plus y squared, or it comes as y squared plus 1. Now from this it follows that one of the x's, we have already found one of our solutions, is 0, right? Because we just 3x squared equals 0. From that it follows that x is equal to 0. Next, I need more space. Remember the equation if you need to. That's better. What we're going to do next is take this 0, because we need to find the coordinate, and plug it back into the original equation. And so the original equation, I will just rewrite everything, every x as a 0. Looks like this. And from this, it follows then we have y cubed, because this is a 0, minus y cubed, plus 9y is equal to 0. This we must factor, and this will give us, this is factoring cubics, y times y plus 3 times y minus 3 to equal 0. From this we get solutions. Y is equal to 0 and y is equal to plus or minus 3. This then gives coordinates, which is what we're looking for. That was very badly written. To be 0, 0, 0, 3, too many commas, 0, minus 3. And these three are our coordinates. Now notice what would have been a mistake to do here, and what I had almost done. Luckily I got confused. If you were to say, okay, 3x squared equals 0, and then 1 plus y squared equals 0 to give me y is equal to plus or minus 1, that would have been a mistake, because we're looking for x's only, not the y. The y is just the byproduct, so just ignore it. And we only have to take the x to find the three coordinates. This was the tricky part. This was very tricky. And another tricky thing in here was factoring this. And if you cannot visualize how I have done it, you can just imagine me rewriting this. I'll write it here where there is space, as y times minus y. Let me rewrite this as minus and plus, then it's just easier to visualize again. Y squared minus 9. And then once you have this, this is a lot easier to factor, because this is just y plus 3 times y minus 3. And then this y, you just stick it in the front. This y comes from here. Maybe I should have explained this earlier as I was going rather than later. Sorry. And then these are the three coordinates. That's your answer.